Kevin Samuels, a black dating coach. He was even nicknamed the ruler of the black manosphere, or ruler of black men. He passed away uh, from, as been reported, cardiac arrest. A lot of sources in the media say it has to do with his health. There are also conspiracy theories already out there saying that he was murdered. Some say he was murdered by the government. Others say that this woman he was with when he was dying was the one behind it. Some are hinting towards his last live stream that he acted a bit suspicious over there. In this video, I'm not going into those conspiracy theories. And I'm not even going into what really killed him. I was not there. I did not see it happen. We don't have any security footage. And there still needs to be a formal investigation. What I want to point out is the following. Many people are celebrating this man's death online. Online, there are many people celebrating openly that this man passed away. This man, when he was alive, he said things that hurt people's feelings. But the things he was saying were things that were a lot of people's minds. The way he addressed many of the women that came on his talk show or podcast, you can say, it wasn't a pleasant way or a polite way to talk to a female, but he told the women things like, look, if you're overweight, lose some weight. Or if you already have 4 or 5 children, don't expect a man with high value to come and put up with all your children. That's not realistic. So he was addressing the fairy tales that many black women had. And there were also other women from other ethnicities also listening to him. But he was actually breaking down people's fairy tales. Now, not everything he was saying was correct. He was promoting values that can be quite harmful. The whole concept of a high value man, namely a man that works so hard that he gets exhausted, but he has so much money, and around age 50, he now can afford a beautiful 20-year-old who can then spend his money. So actually, that type of teaching is telling men your value is based on how much money you have, and if you don't have money, then the other value you have is the size of your dick. One time during an interview, even asked a guy, "How big is your dick?" I mean, I'm not going into all the shocking things he was saying and all of that. It's not what this video is about. I just want to point out this: when you have influence over other people's lives, other people are going to check whether or not they want to be influenced by you. And if they can just shut down your influence just like that, hey, what heck, they will forget about you tomorrow. For example, let's say there's a TV show on TV and you don't like the TV show, you just zap away to another channel. Or if you go to YouTube and you hear someone talk about a topic you're not interested in, you just click away the video. But if someone has a dominant influence like Kevin Samuels had on social media, and so many people are talking about you because so many people are affected by you, people cannot just click you away or ignore you. Then people have no choice but to deal with your influence. Now, when that is you, that you have dominant influence, and people cannot just look away or ignore your influence, people tend to get annoyed. Because now they have no choice but to make up their mind about you. And if they don't see any way they can sabotage you or use anything against you, they will hate on you. Now, in the case of Kevin Samuels, there were things people had on him, namely his blunt attitude, they could use against him just to relieve themselves. Because think about it, you have a dominant influence in a community. People cannot escape your influence. So if they don't want your influence, they want some excuse to escalate on you and and to attack you. Well, in the case of Kevin Samuels, people were attacking him anyway, and they had things they could use against him. But nevertheless, he was an influential man. You don't have to agree with everything he said, you don't have to approve of his lifestyle, but he said things were factual. Sometimes he went too far because he promoted other things that are not Christ-centered nor sustainable, and that's good to point that out. But he had influence. He passed away, and now they passed away. All those people who didn't want to deal with his influence now have a good opportunity, at least according to them, to act out how they felt about him all along. So those people held on to resistance against Kevin Samuels till the day he died. Now finally, he's not around anymore, so they don't feel bothered by him anymore. Yes, there are people like that out there. They choose to be against your influence, so now they want to knock down your influence or shut you up or make you go away. I mean, if that does not work, they become full-time haters because they have no choice but to deal with your influence. Now, Kevin Samuels had enemies, absolutely. Some are theorizing, because there are conspiracy theories out there, that he may have been set up, whatever. Hey, if that's the case, it will come out. But just learn from this. Nobody out there can become influential in a dominant way. I don't care whether you have 1.24 million subscribers like Kevin Samuels had. Was it 1.24 million? Okay, maybe a bit more, a bit less, but he had over 1 million subscribers. Whether it's you're dominant like that, or maybe you brought out several novels, or you became a musician and your song is played on every radio station. It doesn't matter how the dominant influence is. The moment you become influential in a dominant way, there will be people triggered against you. And you have to be willing to live with it. There are going to be people who just can't stand you. Why? Because they can't say no to you. But you think, I don't even know those people. Maybe you're in Atlanta, Georgia, and someone all the way in New Zealand takes offense at you. Why? Because there in New Zealand, so many people are listening to your songs or listening to your content or watching your content, and because of that, they can't just say no. I don't want to hear about this guy because even though you never visit New Zealand, your influence is there, so it's the same as if you're there. And it is if people want you to leave or they want you to get out of their house, but you're still there, no matter what they do. So when you decide that you're willing to become influential in any stage of life or in any field, expect retaliation. And Kevin Samuels, he knew that there will be retaliation, and he accepted the fact that retaliation is there, and he decided not to be bothered by it. There's one thing about Kevin Samuels. He knew there was retaliation, and he decided, I don't care, so be it. There are a lot of people out there, they want to be influential, they want to be influential in a dominant way, they want to have an impact, but when the retaliation comes, suddenly they get scared. Now they begin to cry, or now they become upset thinking, what the heck is going on? You need to know what comes along with it. So that's one thing this man did well. He accepted the fact that there will be retaliation. You can't complain about retaliation if you're the one decided to put yourself out there. As simple as that. Now, the next thing I'm about to say has nothing to do with Kevin Samuels. This is a warning for the rest of you. Anytime you have power, I'm talking about real power now. I'm not talking just about you being influential in a dominant way. If you're influential in a dominant way, and people cannot escape your influence, but they have to deal with your influence, then people can look for something against you they can use against you just to relieve themselves against you. However, if it goes further than dominant influence, if you actually have power that you can make things happen, whether people want it or not, beware. Kevin Samuels had no power. He was influential in a dominant way, but he had no power. Yes, his influence was there, and people couldn't say no against his influence because his influence was just there whether they wanted or not, but he could not make people do anything by putting pressure on anyone. When you walk by faith, you are capable of making things happen whether people want it to happen or not. You can bend over communities in your favor. This is something Kevin Samuels did not have. Now, on this channel, I talk a lot about walking in power, especially walking the resurrection power of Christ. And let me tell you one thing. When you walk in the resurrection power of Christ, you will get hordes of people who insist on you dying and you being removed from the earth. Because not only is your influence dominating their daily lives, all the way into their heads, into their living rooms, but now, anytime they resist your influence and you pick it up, you can do something about it by shifting things around. So you having all this power reveals that the Heavenly Father is in charge, not them. And once people cannot escape to their fairy tales anymore, they lose it. In the case of Kevin Samuels, he was breaking down their fairy tales, but people could at least go against Kevin Samuels and kind of re-solidify their fairy tales or join another fairy tale. But when you walk in real power and you can make things happen, whether or not people are against it or not, and people have to deal with the outcomes you put out there, that destroys every fairy tale of them being in charge of their quote unquote own life that does not exist. Once you walk in real power, you're dashing to pieces all the prideful imaginations of society. And when that happens, you are going to have bigger and worse enemies than Kevin Samuels had. So if people are rejoicing that this man died who had no power over them, what makes you think people are going to do when there's someone alive who has power over them and they don't want this power to exist, but they have no choice but to get along with this power over them? In any case, I'm not going to say anything negative about Kevin Samuels because we're not going to rejoice in anyone's death. No, we're not going to do that. He passed away. It's sad news for his relatives and the people that supported him. Just learn from Kevin Samuels' life. Learn the following also. When you choose a lifestyle, there's always going to be consequences you have to deal with in that lifestyle. Well, the lifestyle Kevin Samuels led, also the teachings he was promoting, they were not sustainable in the long run. So that may have contributed to him passing early on. I said may. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. In any case, learn that you need to consider the costs. Even Christ said you need to count the costs. Christ even said, if you love your mom, father, brother, sister, wife, or kindred, or even your own life more than me, you're not worthy of me. Because when you decide to follow Christ, there will be intense and long-term retaliation against you. Just beware of that. Well, that's it for now. Keep on in Christ and be at peace.